Hey, welcome everybody. I would like to call to order the Village of Lansing Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, March 26th, to order at 7:02 PM. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for March 11th, 2024. I know that,
Okay, made the changes. Everybody was correct except for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm not gonna put Pat in there as Pat Gillespie, but I'm gonna put you up there as absent.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we used to do that, and I think it's good practice. It makes it easier to just quickly ascertain when somebody's not there.
Everybody's good with that, then we'll run with it.
yep.
Okay.
Okay with that.
Any other changes anybody wanted made? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the March 11th minutes as amended by what Mike just said.
Jim is raising his hand.
Oh, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I just,
There's Jim.
yeah, I don't know about Lisa, but I just wanted the record to note that I am participating as a voting member.
Yes, both you and Lisa tonight.
Okay,
Yep, sorry. I would have called it out if I weren't, but yeah, so it's good to point out, right, you're both voting members tonight. Okay, entertain a motion.
I move to accept the minutes of 3:11.
Motion by Lisa.
Second.
Second by Lorraine, all in favor?
aye,
Really, abstain.
And abstained by Pat, yep.
I mean Gillespie, I think.
Sorry, Gillespie, that's right. Okay, next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone in the public to bring anything up that's not already on the agenda for this evening.
Susan Ainsley, liaison to the Board of Trustees.
Hey, Susan.
Marcel is here as an observer for the community party.
Hey, Carla. Okay, hearing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
I move we're close.
Motion by Pat,
Second.
second by Lorraine, all in favor?
aye,
Unanimous. Okay, next item on the agenda is to finalize the special permit, number 2024-4740, for the Northeast Pediatrics change to parking at 10 Grand Road West, tax parcel number 47.1-1-17.12.
I spoke with Hope, and she was ill last week, so she couldn't get together with Dan to get that final. So, but we had already had a couple conditions we were gonna put in the resolution anyway.
Yep, so everybody should have the resolution in front of them. We do have to do the general conditions first, but everyone should have the special permit and the additional conditions that we put on there about the approval of the tree planting plan by the planning board. And do you have that, Lisa?
Actually, I didn't think I did, but where is it? When was it sent? It wasn't with the original agenda and stuff.
I don't think.
No, it was done a few days ago,
Yeah.
and I didn't resend it back out. I figured everybody would be here. I apologize.
Yeah, it was on the 10, 11, oh no, that's something
No.
different, that's the letter.
Because I sent.
The most recent one, I had I don't think I got it.
Oh, maybe you did send it out. I thought you did.
I sent it out, but maybe I didn't.
No, Mike sent it
over
to me.
Natalie, and
Oh, maybe
Natalie
that's the one that I
revised it, made it
saw.
sound a lot smarter than I did, and I can't remember whether I sent it back out or not.
Okay. That's why I saw the one that.
Scratch that from, we'll scratch that from the recording.
When we get to it, we'll read the conditions
Yes.
so that they can hear it.
Yeah, so really, and we can read through it, Lisa and Jim, it's our standard, standard special permit, but there's just the two additional conditions, D and E. We'll read through them when we get there, just so you're aware of them. But before we do that, we do have to do the general conditions.
There you do.
I do, indeed. So I'll read off the general conditions, though. As normal, no special permits granted by the planning board until the requested application meets the following requirements. One, it will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare. Two, it will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the vicinity or neighborhood. 3, it will not impede the orderly development of the vicinity or neighborhood and is appropriate in appearance and in harmony with the existing or intended character of the vicinity or neighborhood. 4, the street system and off-street parking facilities can handle the expected traffic in a safe and efficient manner. 5, natural surface water drainage ways are not adversely affected. 6, water and sewage or wastewater disposal facilities are adequate. 7, the general environmental quality of the proposal in terms of site planning, architectural design, and landscaping is compatible with the character of the neighborhood. 8, lot area, access, parking, and loading facilities are sufficient for the proposed use. 9, the requested use or facility conforms in all other respects to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. And 10, the applicant has shown that steps will be taken where necessary to meet all performance standards and all other applicable general regulations. I'll entertain a motion to say that the general requirements have been met.
I move.
Motion by Pat,
Second.
second by Lorraine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right?
Unanimous?
Do you want to take the time to put this up on the screen, or do you want to just read through it, the resolution?
Why don't you put it up on the screen, just that way, Lisa, Mike's gonna go and pull it up on the screen so everyone can
Okay.
see it who's not here, just in case you don't have a,
Okay, you'll have to.
yeah, I'll let you do
Let
it.
me in while I do this.
Yep. So we'll take a second for Mike to do that.
We closed the public hearing last time.
At the last meeting, yep.
Yeah, we did.
And
That's what I-
we did the seeker and everything and finished that. at the
Yeah,
last-
I was saying, as I remembered. Okay, I just want to be sure.
This gives me time to pull up my trustee notes from the last meeting, so there you go. Perfect, and there's Mike.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Okay.
There you go.
Just give me one more second to find it.
Sure. Thanks for making it sound smart.
Yeah, of course.
It's easy to do whenever I write something to make it sound smarter. I have no problem poking fun at myself, trust me. Oh, wow.
It's hard to dig through all those things that you're actively working on. You
The
know?
one email that actually made it through. Like,
Well,
Yeah, I know.
and then the
Are you
rest
still,
get
are you
kicked
still
out.
having problems?
Wait, are you still having problems?
There's no way to fix it.
They finally got it fixed for me.
Hancock's IT and the village's IT said there's no way to fix it.
Really?
It's a third-party spam.
Right, but they fixed it for me. That was the same.
Fix it to you, for you.
Ronnie had to go back to the company, In Motion or whatever the company is that they deal with, and they had to go behind the scenes, and I told them exactly what Cornell IT told me they had to do, and Ronnie went back and they somehow fixed it. Because at first they told Ronnie they couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
But Cornell IT told me that they probably blocked a whole bunch of people,
Oh, yeah, it's not just like a one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, no,
or
I
like,
know
it's
that.
like, yeah, there's a ton of stuff.
So they probably had to pick through and try and find me and unblock it.
Okay, so Mike's got this up. Hey, Mike, can you zoom in a little bit? I'm just,
I'll tell Ronnie to do it.
just for
Yeah,
for
I
Lisa
probably-
and Jim and
I'll be in my.
anybody
draft
else really online who wants to
tonight,
stay.
and I'll send it to you.
Okay, so I'll read off the special permit. So this is the Village of Lansing Planning Board Resolution for Special Permit Number 2024-4740, adopted on March 26, 2024. Whereas this matter involves consideration of the following proposed action, Northeast Pediatrics LLC located at 10 Graham Road West, tax parcel number 47.1-1-17.12, is proposing to construct additional parking spaces there for their facility. As per Village Code Section 145.42 2C1 and 145.58B2, a special permit's required. And on March 11th, 2024, the Village of Lansing Planning Board, in accordance with Article 8 of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, and 6 NYCRR Section 617.5, and Section 123.2 of the Village of Lansing Code, and amended an environmental review and adopted the resolution for SEQR review in connection with special permit number 2024-4740. And on February 12th, 2024, February 27th, 2024, and March 11th, 2024, the Village of Lansing Planning Board opened and continued a public hearing regarding this proposed action, and therein thoroughly reviewed and analyzed, one, the materials and information presented by and on behalf of the applicant in support of this proposed action, including information and materials related to the environmental issues, if any, which the board deemed necessary or appropriate for its review. Two, all other information and materials rightfully before the board, including, if applicable, comments and recommendations, if any, provided by the Tompkins County Department of Planning in accordance with General Municipal Law Sections 239L and 239M. And three, all issues raised during the public hearing and or otherwise raised in the course of the board's deliberations. The public hearing was closed on March 11th, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The Village of Lansing Planning Board hereby finds, subject to conditions and requirements, if any, set forth below, and the provisions provided for in paragraph B above, that the proposed action meets all general conditions required for all special permits, any applicable conditions required for certain special permit uses, and any applicable conditions required for uses within a combining district. Two, it is hereby determined by the Village of Lansing Planning Board that special permit number 2024-4740 is, we've got two options, either granted and approved or denied, subject to the following conditions. So Mike's got those conditions up on the screen. A is our normal soil and erosion control. B is working with the Village of Lansing engineer and Village of Lansing stormwater officer. C is required permits and approvals. D and E are the two that we added. So D is approval of a tree planting plan by the Village Planning Board and verification by the village code officer that all plantings were completed pursuant to the approved tree planting plan. And E is a payment of $250 to the village tree bank to offset the lack of required tree units. Did anyone have any questions?
Can you just read it one more time?
Yep. So, no, I can read it one more time. It's D and E. These are D and E are the short ones. I'll read it all over. I can read the whole thing again, but no. With that said, I will entertain a motion to grant and approve special permit number 2024-4740. Motion by Pat,
Second?
second by Lorraine. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Well, normally this is where I would say, there you go, Hope, have fun, thanks for stopping by, but Hope's not here, so. If you watch the recording, Hope, there you go, thanks for stopping by. And then, so, yeah, I guess you'll be in touch with Hope. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she's in touch with you already, but, okay, great. Next item on the agenda is the trustee report. Let me just put this stuff in order really quick. And that was me. The bulk, I have some notes, the bulk of it was budget discussion, obviously. Again, the biggest part of the budget discussion, there were some normal things that was just like, why is this money here, what's this for? The biggest part of it, though, was about the money that the village spends on engineering. And so there was a question, hey, that's kind of a big dollar figure, is there an opportunity to lower it? John Courtney was there and said there's a lot of current projects, which is why the figure might be a little higher than it normally would be, but maybe in a couple of years it could lower back down. Wolfgang made a suggestion that we, possibly there's some alternatives, whether that's looking at, and he didn't have any issues with with the engineering firm that we worked with at all. He said a few times, they really do good work, but looking at opportunities for the village, whether that's, looking at maybe another company just to do drafting instead of having the engineering company do that, looking at like interns or Cornell University students to do things like that. So those were just some thoughts that he passed around. John also mentioned that when that topic came up, that Cayuga Heights had gone down a similar path, and they had hired their own engineer, and it wasn't as successful, I got the feeling from the discussion, as they hoped it would be. Ronnie pointed out, when we hire an engineering firm, it's not like we're just getting an engineer, we're getting really the full breadth of the services that that engineering firm offers. So it's kind of that multiple resources and not one person, but the general, consensus was, yes, let's keep it here for now, but in the future, as always, it's, great to look at alternatives if there are things to, to make more sense cost-wise. There was quite a bit of discussion about water rates and water projects that are going on in the village, and also what's in the budget if there's a water emergency, like a broken water main, where that money would come from and things like that. So it's not specifically in the budget, in the water budget section of the budget, but there's money in there if we had to transfer it from a different line to take care of those things. The Board of Trustees did set a public hearing. This is something that they do annually, so they did set a public hearing for the Board of Trustees to vote on overriding the state tax levy only if necessary. So that's something that they do every year. It's just it's a just in case. Ronnie mentioned they've never had to do that, but it is set for 7:35 PM at the April 1st meeting. So a regular board meeting, but 5 minutes after the start, they'll do that vote so they can get through the first few minutes of business. Other than that, it was mayor's comments. Ronnie mentioned that the village switched to a new phone system, so away from the kind of older, actual kind of twisted copper lines that everybody probably remembers as phones, to a voice over IP system. How's that working?
Not bad.
There you go. You can get phone calls?
Yeah. Good. Too many functions
There you go.
for me.
Oh, well,
I just need 2 functions, that's it.
pick up or hang up. This is all you need, yeah.
It's the same company that you've got your internet through.
Yeah.
Assume my calls won't go through either.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. No, that's on purpose, he's got you blocked, yeah. And the only other comment from any of the trustees was Susan mentioned that there had been 2 fires, one at Lansing West, which I didn't know about, and one at Best Buy, which I was about to call 911, or outside Best Buy in the field right there next to the parking lot, which I was on the fence about calling 911 as I drove by until I saw the cops show up.
Oh my God,
So,
I missed all this.
yeah, there was the one by Best Buy was a brush fire. I don't know about the one at Lansing West, but.
Yeah, I didn't
so,
hear about the Lansing West.
exciting news in the village of Lansing, but.
And I missed it. How did I miss
There you go, hey.
half of that stuff? I've been too busy like doing other things.
I thought maybe you'd bring it up in other business and I stole your thunder.
No.
Never mind.
No, I slept and.
And there's also been quite a bit of work to it. I think it came up there, maybe it was a different conversation. But the abatement from the
Gaslight.
gas
Oh,
villages
yeah.
after the fire that they had there. So.
Yeah.
And that is my trustee report. I will also look up who has, never mind, I don't have to look it up. Lorraine has April.
I'm
I
April.
may,
There you go. Okay,
And I've got-
go ahead.
I have June.
Okay, there you go.
I'm
And
July.
And who's May? Pat, you had to switch out, right? Because,
Yeah, okay. Next item on the agenda is other business. We will start with discussion of code corrections.
We will.
I don't know, it's on the agenda.
What do we want to discuss?
Natalie's done her homework.
I did mine.
Yeah, okay.
Are we assigning things to people to look
I was
at?
going to say, I'm unclear on what you mean by that exactly.
I thought it was just a quick update if you had anything you wanted to say, but I know that you've done the lot line adjustment
Yeah,
piece.
but that has to
waiting.
get
But that's gotta get
recommended
approved, yeah,
somebody.
so.
Yeah, nobody had any comments.
Yeah, I read it.
You liked it?
I mean, I understood it as much as,
Of course.
probably less than
Of
liked it,
course.
but I understood it. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, does it have to get put into any special format before we recommend it to the trustees at the
I'll
next one?
put it into the local law format.
Okay.
I think I did, but I'll make sure it's in that
Okay.
format.
Yeah, let's put that on the next agenda, and then we can recommend that to the trustees. Because that was a pretty, I mean,
It was,
it's a very minor
Yeah.
thing. It's not like it's some complicated, it's not like a multi-page thing like the solar law.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, because we're going to be talking about the solar law. I think when I was looking at some of the suggestions the trustees made, I'm thinking, I'm not sure I really understand perhaps the difference between the local law and the code. I mean, is the language, when it's passed as the law, is that the language that will go into our code, period?
the only portion that will go into the code is that which is in section 2.
Okay.
Under amendments, that will go into the code. Section 1 will not go into the code. Then
Well, skip to
all the way
end,
to
yeah.
the end, 3, 4 will not go into the code. The only thing will be what is in section 2.
So pretty much the only thing in this document that doesn't go into code is purpose and intent. Superseding effect,
Yep.
validity, and effective date.
Yep,
Those do not go into the code.
correct. That is just for the local law form.
Okay.
So Natalie also passed along the red line or comments, whatever it was, back from the trustees. I don't know if folks had a chance to take a look at them or review them. I tried to give a recap.
I did.
Okay, I tried to give a recap at the last meeting, because I was also the trustee rep for the meeting before that. I think this document captures everything that I mentioned. There might have been something minor that I
Yeah,
missed,
this
but.
email is Drew Riddle's research on sizing,
Yeah.
and then the red line and comment.
And then the red line, yeah. So we can have a discussion. We don't have to have it tonight. We can talk about it a little bit tonight. That's fine. We are gonna have a joint session with the trustees so that we can be all in the same, I wanna say room, but some of us might be on Zoom, I'm not sure. But we'll have a joint meeting together so that as you know, a whole planning board and board of trustees, we can chat about what their thoughts were, what our thoughts were, and then ultimately figure out, you know, what should change in the draft law before they put it to vote for local law.
And that meeting would be after the budget. So
Yeah, right, and
looking
yeah.
towards May.
Yeah, so we would have some time if, you know, if people want, I don't know, I've had a chance to look over it, I don't know if everybody did, but it's not like a, hey, we have to do this at the next meeting thing. So we've got some time to look over it if we wanna, I'll kind of leave it up to folks if they want more time to read over everything and think about it, or if they wanna, if they wanna talk about everything tonight, if you wanna talk about certain things of it tonight, but what are people's thoughts on that?
Mike, so all these these are all the changes they made?
Yeah, those are all thoughts and comments from the Board of Trustees. So like, if you look down to, and you've got the digital copy of it too, so it helps a little bit to shrink it down, but like that entire first chunk there really is, it was kind of a discussion about definitions, and hey, if we only mention it once, should it really be in the definition section?
Yeah,
Should
if
we
there's a
just-
common understanding, does it need to be in
Yeah,
the definition?
if we only
section?
use it once in the document, does it actually have to be defined and then it's referenced elsewhere? Or can we just use it where it's referenced the one time? And then there's obviously, you know, a bunch of other things in there as you get into like tier 2, Wolfgang has the comment about, you know, is 500 square feet the right number or not? And that's kind of what this separate email references about, you know, how he came up with it. I think we all agreed that what the state recommended, and it's not so much a state recommendation as a default value that the state put in there, was a rather large number for the kind of things that we're talking about.
There were some things that I'm thinking, okay, fine, but there are some that honestly, it's really important that we have dialogue with them to understand the rationale, because I think it's important they too understand how we thought about some of this stuff. And I just, you know, I guess I err on the side of being more inclusive than not, of course, but I was wondering about a couple of things, and I tried to look on some other laws and whatnot, and sort of got bogged down a little bit, ran out of time, but I was wondering about, my main real concern is about decommissioning. And so I really, you know, I keep thinking, okay, what happens when a roof leaks and you have to replace the roof? What happens to solar panels? Mike Scott, do we have any experience? Do you have any experience with any of this? Or do we know someone that we could have come talk to us that could address some of these questions, like that install these systems? Would that be helpful at all, do you think?
Well, to answer your question directly, as far as if you gotta replace the roofing and all of that, there are people that we can talk to, but in general, because I've had it done on a house that we sold, you have an engineer come in and you analyze the life expectancy of, you know, the shingles that you have on there.
Right.
For example, if you've got 2 layers of shingles on there, they'll probably request that you tear those off and put on a new layer, in which you're gonna have 25 to 30-year warranty on the shingles, and that's probably close to being your max on your solar panels.
Right. Right.
So hopefully that kind of touched on what I was saying. They have an engineer to look at it, and if your roof is not going to, if the life expectancy of the surface on your roof is not going to last very long, I don't know for sure, but they probably won't install it unless you replace the roof. It wouldn't make any sense to install it.
I'm thinking more like a tree sort of falls on one corner of your house or something. But, you know, I'm trying to think of situations. And so you have to replace your roof, but the panels are in the way. Because yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you would have a new roof that you put it on. But what happens if something happens to the roof? Let's say the shingles are defective for some reason and you know, whatever. And what happens then to the panels? They have to remove them in order to re-roof?
I can only speculate that they would have to remove them.
So is that considered decommissioning?
I would think no. I mean, as long as the intent is to reinstall them,
Yeah.
I would not consider it decommissioning, right? You're not ceasing I mean, it's a temporary ceasing
Yeah, I think there's
of
a
the
period
production
of
of
time
electricity,
for
yeah.
which it has to be,
Yeah. I think that is in there. It's-
12 months.
Yeah, so if it's gonna take 12 months to replace your roof, maybe we would have questions about that, but, I
And
mean,
also, the solar panels would also be gone already.
that's true.
They'd be
Yeah.
decommissioned by itself if they're taken off.
I mean, most of the times it takes places around 2 days to replace the roof. And then obviously somebody would have to come in and redo the panels, but yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna get new panels, you're gonna take them off, replace the roof.
Assuming they
Theoretically,
can
put the
use-
panels back
yeah.
on.
When I hear decommissioning, I hear removing.
It's gone, yeah.
Removing,
If,
Permanent.
for a roof replacement, you need a building permit?
Well, in some
Yes.
cases,
Okay,
in some cases.
so I guess, just to expand on Lisa's point, what if, so we're requiring if you're installing solar panels to get a building permit, and in some cases, a special permit. But do we need something in there about, you know, if it's just, you know, what, if they're being taken off because you're replacing it, you have to put them back on? Is there anything that you would think we would?
Well, that would also just go to Mike.
Right, it's just like general information, hey, we'd like to know. I don't think there needs to be a.
In a lot of cases, and I say maybe because in cases like that where you have damage, you're basically doing repair, and it's not under the code. Repairs are listed under the code as far as having a building permit. Now, if I run into situations like that before, and I haven't charged a building permit, I still say I would like to come out and take a look at it, just to make sure that it's done correctly.
Okay.
And the board's problem with the the Board of Trustees' problem with the decommissioning plan was more so the language decommissioning plan. They want to figure out a way to require or incentivize someone to remove an old solar panel short of calling it a decommissioning plan, or require some upfront bond or agreement to be made. So thinking through how we can have an incentive on the back end and to force them to remove a violation that Mike can cite them with, or something like that, if they fail to remove within a certain time period. Was more so the thought process of the Board of Trustees.
I just don't want the village to be left with, you know, somebody saying, well, I'm just not, my system's not working anymore, and it's a little broken, but I'm not taking it down because it's not bothering me, and I don't know. It, you know, human nature being what it is, we've seen all sorts of things, haven't we, as to what people refuse to do, and I just don't see the advantage of removing it. I think it needs to be there if we need it. We don't have to use it, but I feel pretty strongly about it, but I'm one person, so I just need to know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, we all talked through this quite a bit, and we can talk through it with the trustees too.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
You know, and I shared, Lisa was there almost verbatim, that there've been a lot of times that things haven't been there, and we haven't, for some unforeseen circumstance, like, wow, we never would have thought that that would even be a thing. And then it was, and the village didn't have any way to protect against that. And it was just like, sorry, they get to do whatever they want. I think that what we did helps address that. I can't think of a situation where we would want to necessarily impose a decommissioning plan for, you know, a tier 1, I'm putting this on my roof thing. But just because I can't think of it, doesn't mean that it doesn't occur. And I think back to the comment, I think back to the comment that the trustees had about wanting to keep this lightweight and not overburdensome. I think going in and saying, well, it's a decommissioning plan for tier 2 and tier 3, but for tier 1, it said retirement plan. I think that
Yeah, but to your point,
adds
where you
administrative
can't
burden.
think of a time when we would require a decommissioning plan for a tier 1, then Lisa's concern isn't addressed, because then we wouldn't have a decommissioning plan in place.
I'm
if
saying
those
keep it in
roof-
here.
No, but you're saying, but that is also at the discretion of Mike and then the board for tier 1 and tier 2.
Right.
So then if we don't require one, if we can't think
Right.
of a time when we're gonna use one, then Lisa's issue is not addressed, because we probably won't require one for residential roof mounted, and then we won't have leverage on the back end.
But
because we haven't
I think
required
a
it.
tier 1 might come up to us where we say, oh, that's a unique tier 1 that we never thought about when we were having this discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes sense for us to have, and I'm not saying a full-blown, because I think there's also a percentage thing in there, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to require,
for
you know,
tier 3,
2,000% of the cost,
Yeah.
but at least for us to come in and say, okay, maybe we do want to put some protection in place there for
Yeah.
the village. Now we have a mechanism for that. Right, if we say, oh, no, that's normal, and then later on we realize it's not.
Screwed.
Yeah, we're, and I'm with, I think everybody's on the same page here, and I'm with the trustees. I really don't want to, you know, have to have a decommissioning plan for somebody who wants to have solar on the roof. But it's those special cases where something comes up that we don't think of. Those are the things that I can think of in, you know, my tenure here that have come back to bite us, and that we have, as we move forward as a board, adjust for when we do these things, or when new things come up for a planning board to be like, oh, well, you know, we never thought about where you were gonna keep your trash. Now we always talk about trash, and where's your dumpsters gonna be, and are they gonna be screened, and things like that, that we have a protection in place there for. Just some time ago, we never asked about it, so now we always ask about it. I think that's my concern with the decommissioning plan. I don't think it hurts to leave it in there. That's just my opinion, yeah. But we'll talk about it in the joint session. I think there'll be, you know, I think that's probably the square footage, I think will be good things. There were some other comments in here about,
Wolfgang
Lisa.
said something about residential versus, I forget his comments, because I didn't print everything out because of where I'm at.
Yep.
But, you know, and I thought that we had kind of covered that with tier 1 and 2, but I think one of the things that I would discuss further in that regard was, we also were concerned about small businesses, you know, that might be not super commercial, you know, but just a small mom and pop thing, kind of.
Yep.
And
Yep.
where that fits, I think.
Yeah, under tier 2, there were some comments in about, you know, as we're talking, and I think this is a really good comment too, you know, as we're talking about minimum tree density, and there's kind of a section down below, but, you know, giving the planning board the ability to modify or waive, there was a really good suggestion about, okay, well, let's put some comments in there about something you would typically, want to modify or waive that for. And, one of the things is solar energy systems, which we just talked about at Northeast Pete, so I think that's a really good example. There's
Right.
another one down there, if you look under, B, it's the, as determined by the planning board. Wolfgang had some comments about not having it be at the discretion, but have it be a definite yes or no. I disagree with that in general. There are things that I think that we've talked about as a board in various things, where we always want somebody to do it. And that's where we use shall. But there are certain things, specifically, it's been around the tree law, really, where we say, hey, it would be nice to be able to have a little leeway. And if we go with a yes or no, we don't have that leeway anymore. And we also have mechanisms in place for this through the BZA for various things, whether it's a yes or no or at the discretion of the planning board, but I think that'll be probably a good talking point at the
Trustee meeting.
at the
joint
trustee
meeting.
meeting too. The same thing came up under tier 3 when we were talking about tree density, same comment as above. But I think those were really the big things about,
Yeah.
the discretion of the planning board, square footage, decommissioning plan, and, just including examples in there about why we may want to consider, offsetting certain things. I think all good suggestions. And I think if you haven't had a chance to read Drew's email, it's a good read about how he kind of approached the calculation from a start too. He didn't look at ours and say, oh, that looks too big or too small. He said, I wonder what the figure would be if I went down this path.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit different than how we did it. So good conversation to have. I think for me, the square footage, maybe there's leeway on that, and I think we can I can give you square footages of some of the solar panel arrays that we have here, and people can decide, oh, that's a good size, or a little bigger wouldn't be bad, or no, that's too big. We can talk about that. I think for me, the decommissioning plan is probably my biggest sticking point, just because things have come back to bite us, and if we don't have a mechanism in place to help, and it's not like I personally, me, Mike, don't like that. It's something that's come up in the village numerous times, and the residents are unhappy about when these things come up, and there's a bunch of different examples, and there's no mechanism for us to, and at that point, it's too late, right? It's not like, well, we'll go and fix this now, and then we can come back. No, it's too late at that point. And so I think good, good questioning by the trustees, but I think that we did a good job as we worked through that to talk about, and we went through a ton of iterations with tiers 1, 2, and 3, and
My God,
decommissioning
yes.
out the window, or only for 3, or only for 2, but I think it'll be, a very good discussion, and, I would encourage everyone to, I know we talked about it for a long time, dig back into the archives to remember everything we talked about, because I won't remember everything we talked about. But yeah. Other thoughts about that?
Nope.
Jim, anything?
No, I've got another computer up here. I looked at the comments earlier, and, I, particularly what you said about, well, Wolfgang wanted to make it mandatory and remove the planning board's discretion. I think your response to that is appropriate.
And so we'll share that. I mean, again, we'll figure out, right, this is this wasn't a quick little one-page thing. I mean, this is pared down quite a bit from the model law that the state presented and, modified to fit in the municipality here. And we were one set of eyes on it, and they were another set, and we'll see from there. And we'll figure out.
I'd like to say about that, is that if we have any friends in the Lansing town, because they had some pretty robust discussions about decommissioning. And from the agricultural point of view, which is where some of our tier 1s would be, it was actually where having a decommissioning plan was the most important to them. So getting a perspective from somebody who's been through that and has that point of view might be useful as well.
Yeah. Well, in tier 1 it's also that interesting piece in tier 1 where on-farm solar energy would land. And there are certain things that you can or cannot impose on farming land to, whether it's burdensome to the, their practice. I don't know if decommissioning plan would fall into that, but again, it is it's worthwhile to bring up there and discuss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the decommissioning plan for the farms was considered actually protective of the farms.
Yeah.
And it was something that the farmers in Lansing actually lobbied to make sure that the town included, and in part because there's precedence of where large solar farms have been put in place because of the footings and because of the way they have to actually build them. There's a lot of compaction of the soil, and over years the soil actually degrades. And so when in the decommissioning process, they're supposed to put the soil back to farmability. If you just take everything out and don't do anything with it, it's no longer farmable, because the soil's been really compacted and damaged over the years. So it was actually a protection for farmers to have a decommissioning plan.
All right, okay, that's good, that's interesting, yeah, I hadn't thought
That's
about
all
that.
state regulated too.
Well, here's the thing that I am, right, this is that kind of gray area when you get to on-farm solar energy, depending on the amount of energy you use and where that lands versus the nameplate capacity of the system. I mean, if you're talking about a gigantic solar array, that's one thing, but you could theoretically, depending on what you're doing on that land, have quite a bit of on-farm solar capacity and not have to fall under that state piece of it. So I think, yeah, that is a very kind of niche case, but yeah. And maybe there's a carve out that we need to do specifically for that, but again, I think then that gets kind of,
Make more, they want to simplify it, and that's.
yeah, that makes it, I think, a little more burdensome for anybody applying it. But, okay, well, yeah, take a look, let's talk about it at the next meeting, which is Monday, the 8th, Solar Eclipse Day 2024. The eclipse will be over, so sorry, we can't cancel the, we can't cancel like the school districts did. So we'll talk about it there, though, and if anybody needs any fresh copies of it or needs it printed out or anything, let us know, we can do that. The last item under other business is the revision of the tree law. So I had mentioned last time that Lisa and I met, we talked about some things. I started to type up the notes and then I got sidetracked with everything that came in about the solar law. So I did not send them out. But in the interim, we did get some notes back from Yamila. Do you remember the person's name, Daniel?
Oh, yeah, those were, in fact,
That was
yeah.
really good notes. I really appreciated that.
I wanted to attend that and I blew it by not I was traveling the day that they sent the Zoom link, and then I didn't catch up with it. But yeah, there were some things there that he brought up. One of the other things that I came across, and I think it was from that chart that Yamila sent us, and it was like Savannah, Georgia tree, I think one. There's other ways to approach this, and I wonder if we need to take a step back on a bunch of these things, and just go through it almost as a board, just kind of paragraph by paragraph. But one of the things that really struck me in one of these was, one of the goals should be, well, we have a goal that we want to increase the trees, but the other thing is no net loss, which I think is kind of an interesting concept for some of the situations that we've come across where, they come for as a special permit. They're not going to cut down any trees, but because it's a special permit, we need to, as we've discussed, like with my neighbor. But there was going to be no net loss of trees in his case. He wasn't cutting anything down.
Right.
And I think it's an opportunity. However, I don't want to give up the opportunity to also increase the number of trees, because we could use that. But I think it's an interesting thing to keep in mind while we're looking at our law, as a matter of fact. Is like, is it really, and some of them had like number of trees per acre for new development and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of interesting ways to go about it, but it's like, how far back do we want to backtrack on this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, did everyone get a chance, or did anyone not get a chance to read it? It's okay if you didn't get a chance to read it. But they were some really good comments about, he really just focused on 145, so it was 145-27, the tree conservation and planning. He focused on the kind of main part of it first, but some of the questions are things that, have come up here before, so it's good to have, somebody else looking at them about, determining, kind of how many trees were, and we've asked Mike about this, how many trees were removed over 3 years. Some good ideas about, hey, does it have to be a landscape architect, or could we also include, this other person who's an expert in that field? I think that's great, right? We're not experts in that, and if, that's somebody who could do that. Again, we've talked about under and overstory trees before, so why? So I think they really were all good, really good comments, I thought. So thanks for getting that set up, Yumila, and forwarding that along.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things that came out of that webinar was that Christina and Dan, it's their job to help municipalities do exactly this. So they're set up and they're equipped and they're knowledgeable to actually help us through all these things. So what we can do is take their comments, we can look at it, we can make some edits, we can send it back to them for more comments and iterate that way with them.
Yeah, so I think we've had discussion here, we've got separate notes about it. I know Yumila had some comments, there's these comments. Lisa and I sat down a couple weekends ago and we did pretty much go through it line by line. We were focusing more on some of the comments that we had and that Yumila had. But I agree with Lisa, I think just with everyone's different thoughts and comments from different sources, that it might be better for us to just spend a couple meetings, a little bit of time at each meeting and go down through it line by line. A lot of it I think is fine, but there are some key areas where we might want to clean up the language, or at least think about, in the email from Dan, at least think about, is this language right? He poses an interesting question, is the language right? Is this the goal that we're trying to attain? Yes, and the language is right. Or maybe we want to change a shall to a should, or a should to a shall. But I think some of them are minor. Some of them, are a bit more discussion as we talk about, residential versus commercial. Is this right for one or the other or both of them? And then there's the chart at the end with calculations about quarter, half shrub tree units. That's a bigger discussion. But I think we can get everything else cleaned up and maybe focus on that kind of separately, because that's, I think, just a kind of different philosophical debate about what counts and what doesn't. And I think having the information up front about, if we know, yes, this section, here's our goal, here's what we're trying to attain by having this, maybe that lends itself to the calculation discussion a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And again, now that we have a couple examples underneath us now.
Yeah, one of each, one from residential and one from commercial helps.
Yep. Other comments or thoughts on the tree law, though? Or that approach?
Oh, I heard from Dan Siegel at the Plantsman Nursery, and he is available if we want to visit from him on the 30th.
April? Or is that
the April 30th planning board meeting.
Really? I was thinking about that. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you have a sense, Mike, for what might be? I know that's 2 meetings from now.
I don't know if we're gonna, my opinion, I think Pizza Hut's gonna take a little bit to get things together. I'm hoping that we're gonna see the storage facility the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's carve out some time at the 30th meeting right now. I mean, you mean, ask him how much time he thinks he would need, if it's 30 minutes, if it's whatever, but yeah, why don't you ask him and then we'll get him on the agenda.
I think he'll flex to what we want.
Okay.
Get him
he will, he'll flex to what we want.
Yeah, let's, I mean, if he's got, I don't know, if he's got like a, a 15-minute presentation, again, I think it's more food for thought for us is how we approach things, but yeah, let's see if he wants to come and present for like maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then we can have a 15, 20-minute chat with him about some of our questions and try to tie it back to the tree law. And then I would say if he's gonna be here on the 30th, let's also, if we have time, try to talk through some of the comments and things about the tree law at the next meeting on the 8th, and we'll try to maybe keep it to the areas that we think that subsequent discussion with him would best lend themselves to. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can pass the buck along to Mike. He can help coordinate all that. Now, if the weather's warming up, you don't have much to do, right?
Yeah, I know.
Sitting around, it's like vacation, yeah, no. Okay. Other business. Lisa, anything you want to bring up?
I was wondering, I was gonna ask, since we haven't heard anything lately about the whole Transact Bomax situation. And do we think that there might be a change in that since the chip manufacturer is not coming to town after all? Do you think they're related at all?
Since the what?
The
I don't
chip
know.
manufacturer, Menlo Park isn't coming, or whatever they're called.
You talking
That's
about,
what I,
we
is
talking
that not true?
Menlo Micro, we talking.
Oh, they're not coming?
PDA.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
Because
Is that,
Meadow Micro's not coming.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
There's no word that they're not coming, Menlo Micro, they just put it off for a year. Because they didn't get the funding they were looking for.
okay. Oh, well, I heard something different. Okay.
If you, I mean, I'm just telling you what I heard. If you heard something different, that could very well be true, Lisa. I don't really know.
Listen, you're closer to this stuff than I am, but I was just wondering, since we haven't heard anything about the Transact situation, I just was wondering if there was some sort of relationship there, perhaps.
Well,
I've heard very little movement from anybody on any large projects.
Uptown Road, none of them.
Nothing.
Okay,
Anything else, Lisa?
nope.
Jim?
I don't really have anything that's business as such, but I was curious if anybody has any more information about the fire at Lansing West, because the office didn't send out any kind of email or anything, which they're pretty good at communicating, and so it kind of have a personal interest in that.
If there's no property damage, they don't usually send me anything. The fire department usually send me anything. If there's nothing there that I need to go look at, like if someplace is unsafe or there's major property damage.
So it's like, could have been a kitchen fire or a wastebasket fire or something like that, you mean? Or-
yeah, what was it?
Somebody left that popcorn in the microwave 1 minute too long.
Yep.
I used to dump my entire building at work like, oh gosh, monthly. So they took the microwaves away so nobody could make popcorn anymore. I mean. Okay, Lorraine?
Yeah, so Lisa and I ran into each other a couple weekends ago at Aldi, and so we were standing out front for a good 30 minutes chatting away, and we were just watching people blowing through the stop signs. It was really bad. Nobody's stopping for those stop signs.
Parking
we were
lot
both
design.
It was pretty bad, right, Lisa?
Yeah, no, it was.
No one in the way. Just go, go, go.
I don't know if I don't know if, I forget, it's either the mall or one of them has an agreement with the sheriffs to police the area and one of them does not. So one of them really is like private, they can't go ticket
Yeah.
anyone there, the other one is.
I think the sheriff does patrol the Cuba Mall, right? I mean, I've seen,
I don't know, that's really not
I mean, they used
my
to,
wheelhouse.
have the sheriff patrol, but I don't know if they,
You can file
But anyway.
file a complaint with the,
anyway, it's stupid to have those stop signs there. They're just in the way, because people aren't stopping and they're blowing through, and most of them are all going to Planet Fitness.
you're talking about the stop sign in the middle of the road?
There's two of them,
I
right
bet
outside Aldi, right there.
that having a stop sign, however, in the middle of the road,
Yeah, keeps people
I know
slower.
that it would slow me, even if I was going fast, I know that it would slow me down a little bit.
You don't want to hit the stop.
There's two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, the other day, now they're turned around, so the stop sign part is facing the parking lot instead of,
Lorraine, the only thing I can really do is send Stephanie Gomez, who is control of the Brixmore here, just send her a note that the planning board was concerned, that's about the only thing I can do, I can't.
But I think,
I appreciate that.
I think that would be good. I mean, honestly, one of the things that we're talking about is, it is a walkable area, there are more businesses moving in, which is great. And then if we're talking about, new businesses there, I would imagine that would equate to more foot traffic in the plaza area, it might be worth mentioning, yeah.
I mean, I think because Planet Fitness attracts so many people, and a lot of them are students, they're just, They don't pay any attention.
I don't think it was all students,
Well,
Lorraine.
no,
You
it
could-
wasn't. I mean, we saw other, yeah, it wasn't all.
But it's
I had to
just
blame it on
people
somebody.
are just, that California stopping stuff. They were blowing through, but the thing is, when they redid the parking lot there, or tore all of it up, as you might recall, I suggested that they take a look at the design of their parking lot. The cars should not be going along the buildings there. They should be down farther, and that should be walkable from the parking lot. And the fact is, they said, oh, but the stores want to have visibility. Well, it's frankly, it's stupid and it's dangerous. And we're going to I think you should send them a note because it's a safety concern. And, people hold us accountable as a village, forgetting that it's not it is our issue. But I still maintain that along with our tree law, we need parking lot design. And this kind of stuff is just, it really is pretty bad, but could even put in there some speed bumps, frankly, instead of stop signs that might slow people. I mean, the really big speed bumps that make you practically stop.
That would make people.
The ones that make your car jump even if you are going slow?
Yeah.
So that is private property, so, I mean, traffic calming devices that we normally say, oh, we can't do that, it's DOT. That's
Yeah.
private property, there can be traffic calming devices there.
Yes, there could be,
Pros and cons to both of them.
of course, but it is a concern, and it was pretty obvious. I said, Lorraine, I think if we just stood here for a half hour and just took a video, it would be pretty obvious what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. What else?
That's it.
Beth?
The only question I had is, since Gillespie was not at the last meeting, what's going on with Dick's?
There's,
What?
they were
With Dick's.
supposed to have come.
Oh, Dick.
There was talk about being an inside storage facility. And they were talking about coming to this meeting, but they didn't have all their ducks in a row, so to speak.
Yeah,
So,
Maybe the next one. Okay,
maybe, maybe not.
anything else?
No.
Natalie?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Emila, I forgot, yep, there you go, yes.
Yep, no, just thank you, Lisa, for bringing up the parking lot and Lauren for bringing up the parking lot, because I sent everybody an invitation to the Christopherson Center, which is, the Christopherson Center is a center from Cornell that does community planning workshops. So absolutely like right in line with the things that we're looking at. And on April 3rd, they are doing a panel discussion on a book called Paved Paradise, How Parking Explains the World. And I have to say, I borrowed the book from our Tompkins County Public Library. They have it on Kindle, they have it as an audio book. And it is actually really like a quick, good, rich read, and actually kind of funny in points. So if you have an opportunity to join that April 3rd evening discussion, especially if we're going to be looking at parking lots somewhere down the road, as Lisa suggested, it'd probably be worthwhile to go to that.
I already signed up. I signed up before I even knew you were going to be involved, so because it's of interest to me. Yep. Thank you, though.
Great. You said,
No, I have nothing.
okay. You could have nothing before, too, I mean, you can still have
I
nothing.
didn't want to jump in front.
Michael?
Surprisingly, no, other than when I sent you folks the planning board training in the town of Lansing, which would be very convenient for you. I didn't realize it was on one of our meeting nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, we can't cancel and go there, because that would be too many of us there, and it would be a public meeting.
Well, I won't be there. I'll be in California.
That would have been nice and convenient for everyone.
Yeah. Okay,
Other than that, I don't.
okay, well, everybody already knows who the next trustee rep is, and I don't think there's anything else special coming up between now and the next meeting, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:01 PM.
Except, what am I supposed to say?
Motion by Lorraine.
To accept and being adjourned.
Motion by Lorraine, second by Pat, all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Unanimous. Great, thanks, everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Everyone.